Welcome to the Brandon and Ryan Hour, the show for movies, television, entertainment reviews, and commentary. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Ryan. And today is our spoiler filled review of Sound of Freedom that was just released in July of 2023.
Indeed. I don't know if it's spoiler filled because I don't know if we're really spoiling anything because the previews kind of give the basic, pretty much the whole plot away.
Okay, in
But
depth review. Do you like that
in-depth
better?
review, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we highly recommend you go watch the movie. But if you want to hang out with us and listen to us talk about it, feel free. If you want to check out our spoiler free review, you can check that out. In the description of that video is a link where you can get free tickets if you don't want to pay for them or can't. So, with that being said, what'd you think, Ryan?
Yeah, so I thought it was a very well done movie. Just from a movie perspective, the storyline was great, the characters were compelling, the acting was phenomenal by more than just the lead actor. Um,
Mm.
so Jim Caviezel plays Tim Ballard, kind of the main focus, the protagonist of the story. He did a great job. Um, the little boy that they had playing Miguel, who showed up, I don't know, for a
For a
third of
few
the
minutes.
movie,
Huh?
or less. I don't know how much
Oh,
he was actually on screen,
yeah, it was hard to tell like how the timing of the movie was going, but I don't think he had much on screen time. A few minutes.
but no, he was fantastic as well. Um, and the guy who played the Colombian former cartel member
Vampiro?
was, yeah, he was just, he knocked it out of the park with that role.
Yeah.
So all around, good things to say about the movie as just a film in general.
Mm-hmm.
What
And
about
I
you?
guess we should say that like our initial review and commentary is going to be about the film itself, and then probably towards the end we'll talk about the content of the film. Um, but yeah, so I think I think everything kind of came together. The writing was good, the story is good, um, the acting across the board, um, the the directing and the filming of the movie was shot very well. Um, I was trying to like think of a way to critique it, but I really couldn't be like, oh, they kind of screwed up here. Um, and I guess I don't know. It they didn't have any CGI problems because they didn't have any
Because there was no
CGI.
CGI, right?
It's a real movie, which is few and far
Refreshing.
between these
Yeah.
days. Um, which is kind of crazy. But anyway,
It's almost like when people want to see a live action movie, they want to see live action instead of animated.
right, live action, but not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um the like they really get you quick with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just dive right in with um the kidnapping of the Miguel and Rocio.
Okay. Is that what happened first? Yes, it was. You're right.
I mean, they didn't
The,
show that, but like that's part of
yeah,
the
that was the
implication.
setup
Well,
for
no,
the
they
whole
did show it
movie.
because the dad was looking for them,
Right.
and then he couldn't find them. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um.
the entire movie, I think we kind of have to just briefly touch on what the movie is about. So the entire movie is about human
Tim Ballard?
trafficking. Okay. But yeah, I mean, the entire
Oh,
story is about human trafficking, specifically children caught in human trafficking for whatever purposes, sex purposes.
sex trafficking. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the entire setup
It,
of the first scene. Um, Rocio is a little girl. I think they said in the movie she was 11, and
11 or 12, something like that.
so yeah, I mean, movie opens with some person who ends up being one of the main protagonists of the movie
Hmm.
coming to her house saying, "Hey, remember when we met in the market and you were singing? I want to talk to your dad." And then convinces her dad to bring her to basically a talent agency. What country were they in? Do you remember?
Um, oh, dang it.
Because it wasn't Colombia, because
They
that's where
went
they
to
ended up.
Colombia.
Right.
Um, dang it, I don't remember.
Okay.
Um, anyway, it's not just this. Yeah, so they get kidnapped from. I can't remember what it wasn't. It doesn't really matter. South American country. Um,
Yeah. So this talent agent is basically a front for this cartel who's kidnapping children and then selling them into slavery. Um, so the two Rocio has a little brother Miguel, and they both go to this talent agency tryout. And dad leaves and comes back when he's supposed to pick them up, and everybody's gone. The place they were at was completely cleaned out.
yeah, and I don't know. Like me, I'm like, okay, this is sketchy from the beginning.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I mean the culture's different, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just got to be like personally. I'm like, how do you let this happen?
I mean, it happens all the time though. So
Exactly. So like they're preying on
I
mostly
mean,
poor people.
right. And they're preying
So
on their hopes and fears of rising above where they are right now.
yeah,
So hey, we can offer
and
you
then they promise them the world,
right.
and then steal everything from them.
Yep. But yeah, the guy who played the father Jose Zuniga was phenomenal as well. Like you could actually see in that scene where he's searching for his kids, like he's running through emotions. Like he's scared, he's angry, he's panicked.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone's performance was believable, which is kind of crazy
Yeah.
because of the range of character types.
Okay.
And then at the same time, it's like they're not just characters because these are based on real people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not a documentary, but it is based on the real life story of Tim Ballard. Um, and uh, whatever. What am I thinking of?
I
The
don't know what
kids
you're
and
thinking of.
rescuing the kids and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
His mission to rescue them and so yeah. So after they get kidnapped, that's when we meet Tim Ballard, and they're on a stakeout,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like waiting for this guy to upload some stuff to the internet,
Yeah.
and then they go in and arrest him, and he's just got ridiculous amounts of child pornography.
Hmm.
which is crazy.
Yeah, and the movie addressed the subject matter in such a way that it never became disgusting. Like they never showed anything, but it
Yeah.
was enough to. They gave you enough to know what was going on, where you could draw your own conclusions of what was being witnessed from these people.
Yeah. Which I really enjoyed,
Yeah.
as weird as that is to say. But like that form of storytelling, like nowadays they just show you the gore and the violence and the disgust. But
Hmm.
this subject matter is beyond that. It's at a level of evil that's, yeah, most people don't like to talk about, which is why nobody talks about it,
Right.
which is why watching this kind of movie is kind of jarring as an audience member.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so when they go and arrest that guy, I guess his teammate was like flipping through a book, and I guess just the images he saw, like, and the cameras always go to their face,
Hmm.
so it kind of shows you like a little bit of, I guess, the context of what they're looking at, and then it goes to their face, and then their emotion just portrays to you um, what they're seeing. And even by like people who are in the movie for like 2 minutes, like him,
Hmm.
like you believe that he is, you know, greatly impacted and disgusted by what he's seeing.
Right.
Um, uh, yeah. So then he goes and befriends that guy that they
Yeah,
arrested.
the pedophile that they arrested.
Yeah. Which
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know. It like it turns your stomach to watch it, but like to do it in real life and to like try to befriend somebody that's the
Capable of
epitome of
that kind of
evil.
evil. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And to try to pretend to be like them to gain
Right.
their trust, like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't
Yeah,
do it.
so I saw an interview with the actual guy that the movie is based off of, and he
Mhm.
said that process of getting that guy to trust him took 2 months.
Two
So
months?
2 months. So in the movie, it kind of just happens quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, a 2 month process of convincing this guy to befriend him and trust him.
Wow. 2 months. Like, that's tough.
Yep, for sure.
Uh,
But
so
yeah,
in the
so the
movie, there's the scene where he goes to his cell and he's in the cell with the guy, and then he looks at the camera and he says, "How about we go take a walk or get some fresh air or something?" And like in
Mhm,
that moment, I guess typically what would happen in an action movie is that that guy would go outside and get the crap beat out of him,
right.
but that's not what happens. Like he's befriending him and trying to get information from him, and which is, I don't know, it's interesting because normally in movies, like I catch myself like predicting the plot or predicting this thing or that thing, but this, I wasn't really trying to like figure out what's going on because you're being told what's going on,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a road you don't want
Really
to
wanna
go
travel
down.
down, right?
Yes, it's like, you know what, I'll just let them tell me what what I need to know because I don't want that in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the entire reason he befriends this guy is to, try to get him to admit to more heinous things than just having child pornography.
Hmm.
And, they cut to a scene where they're in a theater or not a theater, in a restaurant,
Hmm.
um, and they're talking about something, and the pedophile says, "Oh, I got you this person. He's going to be this boy who's like,
Oh yeah,
I think they said it was like 7.
6 or 7.
Um,
It's like
but
he's yours for the whole weekend.
yeah, and yeah, so Jim Caviezel says, quotes the Bible: "It's better to have a millstone tied around your neck and cast into the sea than to hurt one of these children,
Little ones.
little ones."
And to hurt one of
And
my little ones or something like that.
yeah, and the pedophile was like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "You're under arrest." And it was like, it
You
was just
have the
a
right to remain silent.
yeah, it was just a great scene,
Yeah.
especially the
And then the cow show up.
pedophiles. Yeah,
Yeah.
reaction, saying, "I trusted you,"
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the line
Pretty
that
much
came
the
after
only
was fantastic.
funny line in the movie, because it's a tough movie to watch.
Hmm. But yeah, so
Which is
he says, "I trusted you," and then Jim Caviezel's character Tim says, "You should never trust a pedophile."
he like leans into his ear too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was just a fantastic line, fantastic delivery,
Delivery. Yeah. The whole thing
because it
was
is
good.
true. You shouldn't trust a pedophile to
I
start
wonder
with.
if that was like actual, like if he actually said that to him in real life, because that'd have been perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the boy that he was getting delivered, they go to the border and they rescue him, and that's turns out to be Miguel.
Hmm.
And um,
And there is a lot of cutting back and forth between the past to see what happened to Miguel and his sister, like how they got in the positions they are through the trafficking process as they're telling the story. So,
a little bit, but most of it comes after they rescue Miguel, and then he kind of fills them in.
right, like as Miguel's telling the story, you don't actually
Yeah.
see the character saying what happens. They cut to a flashback,
Yeah,
like he's talking.
right.
So, it was a very well done editing.
Yeah, and um, so something I liked about that, I guess, throughout the whole course of the movie, is how little, or is that yeah, how little of time the kids actually spent on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because this is the movie's based on, that's the main plot line or the main story, and the message that they're trying to get out is to teach people about sex trafficking of minors, children, and
Mm-hmm.
but the amount of screen time they have is minimal, which I think was really well done.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Miguel fills them in on like where he's been, and I think he's been like several months. He's been they put him in a shipping container and shipped him. I was thinking it was like Guatemala or somewhere in Central America, and they
Where they
shipped him
started out
down
from.
to
Okay.
Colombia.
Yeah.
Um,
So they shipped him to Colombia, and then he ended up in, I think, Mexico City.
yeah, the guy who took him, like he took him to Mexico. I don't remember where, but yeah, could have been Mexico City. But his sister and everyone else stayed, I guess, with the, what do you call them? Traffickers?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Colombia.
So yeah, and then Miguel tells him that he's got a sister and asks if he's going to help him find his sister, and that was just a heartbreaking scene because
Yeah.
that actor, just nailed it. So
Yeah. And then the thing with the necklace and having the same name. I'm thinking that was something to do with the Book of Timothy.
I would imagine
I don't
so.
know. But I don't know. Timoteo. Yeah, so then Tim sets off to try to go down to South America to set up a sting operation. Um, but he's got to get permission from Homeland Security, who he works for, and when his boss told him that he could go down there as like to do some training, and
he said that he was going to go down there. He told Tim that he could go down there and do training, like train people on how to.
Well, he didn't say you could go do training. He said he could say he was going down there to do training,
right,
and give him money from the discretionary fund. He said, "Don't go over $10,000." And then, like after the first couple of days, I'm like, he's already over.
He's way over that, right?
So then, let's see. That's when we meet Vampiro, who's an ex-mafia guy or ex-cartel guy, and who now rescues children from the sex trafficking. But Tim Ballard's down there, Jim Caviezel. He's pretending to be a pedophile so he can get on the inner circle or on the inside and try to take down some traffickers and rescue some kids. Then they get the idea to set up an exclusive pedophile club for
on
rich
an
people
island.
On an island,
kind of like Epstein's Island.
Yeah. Now, like I saw that and I was like, how many freaking islands are like that? And I was like, freaking weirdos, man. So yeah, they start doing that, but then Homeland Security wants him to pull out because it's taking too long and he's spending way too much money.
And they're saying they don't have jurisdiction down there.
Yeah, and they haven't caught anybody. He's been on there for months. He hasn't caught anybody.
Right.
And I liked the leading to the relationship with him and his wife. Because I was listening to some interviews, and like what his wife said to him in the movie is like what his wife said to him in real life. Like basically, you have to save these kids. You have to quit your job and save these kids.
Right.
He was expecting his wife to say, no, you have to come home and provide for your family. But she told him, no, you're going to stay there and rescue the kids.
Yeah.
Which that takes a lot of courage. And I guess it kind of like that says a lot about their relationship, where she trusts him so much to quit his job to do something where he could potentially die and have no income for who knows how long. So yeah, so then he goes. I was gonna say go rogue, but he didn't really go rogue. He just went private.
Right. Right.
And I guess that's in the movie. That's where he goes to try to convince the billionaire that he knows to. Or was that before? No, he had to go convince him to continue on with the plan.
Right.
Yeah, and he kind of, I mean, he kind of manipulated him, but
A little bit, but still, you gotta sometimes. I don't know if manipulated is the right word. He
yeah,
and said, "Hey, this is what's really going on."
yeah, he gave him the picture and of the kid, and it's like, all right, dude, I get it, I get it.
Yeah, like,
Let's
okay,
do this.
fine. I can't ignore what's going on. I got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was really cool. Um, so I guess the next part is just the sting operation on the
Yep.
island. They get everything set up.
So they're able to. They're working with some Colombian government agency. Uh, get paperwork saying that they bought this island. So the people, the traffickers that they've been dealing with, can get on board with providing talent, is what they called it.
Yeah,
Which
models. Is that what they said?
they said called them models and talent.
Okay.
Which I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
pretty
interesting
disgusting.
that they don't, or they took it to a place where I think a lot of people in that kind of industry would devalue the people that they're selling. So we're reducing them down to something other than children. So instead of saying, "Hey, we want X amount of children," we can provide you with X amount of models or talent.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
it's
I
kind
think
of.
it was, yeah. They were just using code so that they weren't.
I also think it kind of had a demoralizing.
This disassociates
Right.
them from the actual
Yep.
humanity.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was getting at.
And then a couple of times they called them chickens.
Yep.
Yeah. Like they're just selling chickens on the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I ever meet you, dude, I might have to hurt you.
Yeah.
um yeah, so they're supposed to bring they wanted at least 50 kids. And how many did they get? 54?
Yeah, I want to say it was 54.
Yeah, 54. Um what was that one guy's name? What was his name? Um dang it. The guy at the on the island.
Guy on the island. You got to be more specific than that.
The guy that was going to shoot Ballard in the head.
Oh,
What did they call him?
I think that may have been Fuego.
Okay. Maybe. I don't remember. Anyway, he was a surprise guest.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ended up pinning it on him.
Yeah.
Um but so they do all that, but Rocio wasn't among them. And that was his main goal and focus, was to rescue her. Um Then we find out one of the cops is interrogating one of the guys they arrested. We
Mm-hmm.
find out that she was sold to a guerrilla leader,
Yeah.
one of the leaders of the guerrilla army in the south of Colombia. The whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, this is a ridiculous amount of pedophiles.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
It's like, how are there just these many people walking around, living life, running their businesses, which is
Mm-hmm.
sex trafficking of minors, and adults probably.
Yeah.
How are these people just walking around?
I don't know.
I don't either. Which is part of the movie, like this movie is all over the place emotionally. Like it makes you
Mm-hmm.
mad. You're mad like a lot. You just want to
Right.
hurt people. And then you're super sad and you're
Uh-huh.
disgusted. And yeah, you're like, it's rough. It's a rough ride.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, so he finds out that Rocio had been sold and down in a place where the agency they're working out refuses to go.
like I said, the army wouldn't even go down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's rebels or yeah, I think they called them rebels.
Rebels, guerrillas, whatever.
So yeah, so they can't go down there. And then Vampiro speaks up and he says, "Hey, aren't there doctors that go down there to help out?" And
Yeah.
they hatch a plan to try to get down there and see if they can find this girl that he's looking for.
Yeah. So they have to like slowly travel south, giving vaccinations and talking to people. And then they just, I guess they kind of figured out better where they were.
Mm-hmm.
And they start just going down this river. And then the guerrillas show up or rebels show up and basically like almost kill them. And Tim has to go with them alone after they find out that, okay, they're not carrying anything. They don't have weapons. They're not, guess they're just doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's going through the village. So what I got, so he talks to the main guy, the leader of the rebel army.
Yeah.
Where he's at, where they're also like making cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
He shows him the paperwork about quarantining people or evacuating them and taking them to the hospital or whatever if they have whatever
Cholera
they're
is
vaccinating
what.
for. Oh,
Yep.
cholera? Okay.
Yep.
Then he burns it and he's like, that's my protocol. And I was like, well, that plan is shot. Now he can't say that she has cholera because it's just going to kill her.
Right.
That's what I got from that.
Yeah, that's exactly what was being portrayed as if anybody's sick, he's just going to kill him.
Right. So it's like, okay. Plan A.
Out the window. Right.
And then it wasn't really a plan B because like Vampiro was telling him, he's like there's no
Calvary.
US Marines coming in to rescue us if this
Right.
goes south. It's like if this goes south, we're dead. Like there's no other way this is gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
So he finds her and then he has to try to figure out how to get her out of there.
Right.
Basically, just gets her in the middle of the night. He has to kill the rebel leader because, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because he comes back in the house before they're able to leave. And then, so he just waits for his opportunity to kill him. I feel like he could have done it quicker.
Yeah. But
I like the scene though.
It was a really cool scene how they were cutting, like when she was supposed to have her eyes closed. It was just dark and you heard the sounds.
Yeah, because Tim walks up behind the guerrilla leader and he does this, and like then she closes her eyes and then the camera goes black and then you hear a fight start, and then she opens her eyes, and you see them fighting, and then every time she closes her eyes, the camera goes black, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it was a very it's not something I've ever seen before. So
Yeah, I can't think of anything where I've seen something like that. It's probably been done because
first time I've
everything's
seen
been done, but it was really good. So he kills him, they escape, and then then what happened? Oh,
Yeah,
they get to
so
the car, and then they shooting
yeah,
at him and everything.
right. So they get back to Vampiro, and the agent that they were working with have to take
Colombian
off
agent. Yeah.
because they're being chased. But I mean, they end up getting away after getting shot at.
Yeah.
And he gives
Get away from a boat when you're in a car.
yeah. But so earlier, before he went to, after he gave Miguel back to their dad, Miguel gave him the necklace that his sister had given him. So we get the scene in the car where he gives it back to this girl.
Yeah.
Which was a nice kind of closure to that.
Yeah. Then we get the phone call to the dad, because there's been a couple of phone calls to the dad where he's getting bad news. But then we get the phone call to the dad where she's been rescued. And obviously, you know, like they show them reuniting and then going home. And it closes the same way it opened, with her playing drums in her bedroom, which I thought was I don't know. I can't say cool because it's not a cool movie, but I thought it was a good bookend for the movie. I did think so. I guess after they rescued the 54 girls and she wasn't there.
Well, 54 children.
Yeah, children.
There were boys and girls.
Yeah.
But
after they rescued the 54 kids, they show the dad in the bedroom. And at that time, I was like, man, how long has this movie been going? I was like, is this how it's going to end? I feel like they could have ended it that way also. But, and it would have been just a story of like, okay, we're able to rescue some,
but not
very
all of them.
few,
right?
But most of them don't make it home, and then this is the consequence, right? You know, parents without their kids. So I don't know. Like in that moment in the movie, I was like, is this how it ends? I was like, this isn't a hero action movie, so act where they're going to rescue her in the jungle.
Well, you cut out there, so I have no idea what you actually said.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. Well, I hope they heard me. I hope we recorded, because I don't know. What was I saying? I don't even know.
You were the one saying it, and I couldn't hear you.
Anyway.
Well. It was a very salient point.
Yeah. It was good stuff, I'm sure. A-OK stuff there. I was talking about how they could have ended it with the dad on the bed or some variation of that scene. Because it's not a hero movie, it's not an action movie. you know,
Okay.
that's a very plausible ending.
Right.
But we did get the next act where they do go into the jungle and rescue her. Which I think is the main, like Jim Caviezel's been saying, he's like the main message of the movie is hope, trying to have, trying to give hope and have hope that they can rescue the kids and stop the trafficking. So, yeah, I liked. It's hard to say that you liked anything about this movie,
Okay.
but um, it ended well. The story,
Yeah. It ended well.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think this is going to be one that I go back and rewatch. So kind of
It's
like
hard rewatch.
it's kind of like when Passion of the Christ came out. Like I wouldn't watch it in theaters. It's a good movie. I'm not going to go back and rewatch it though.
Well, yeah, like that, Schindler's List,
Right.
um, Anne Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many
Like
times you watch those movies?
it is hard subject matter, but
Yeah,
it's
and
definitely worth the initial watch. And
yeah, because
yeah,
it it's bringing to light something that
most people don't want
civilized
to know about.
society has put in the closet and
Mm-hmm.
tried to forget about. Um, uh, yeah, we try to we've sanitized our lives. We remove everything that's unseemly or uncomfortable as
Uncomfortable.
far away from us as possible. Um, you know, for better or worse, things like this, like human trafficking, go with it, and then that exacerbates the problem
Mm-hmm.
because the amount of people actually doing anything about it is minuscule
Right.
on the grand scheme of things. Because you have, a few thousand people in political agencies or government agencies working on the problem,
Mm-hmm.
but when the problem is 2 million people,
Right.
and who knows how many hundreds of thousands or millions of people that partake in the market,
Mm-hmm.
because what did they say, $150 billion industry?
I think that sounds right.
Like that's
I don't.
an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
It's is mind-boggling. And the 2 million children
Mm-hmm.
who are being trafficked is a crazy number. And then they're talking about how like the United States is one of like the main countries for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we should be hanging these people up by their toenails. Why
Yeah.
aren't we?
I don't know why we're not.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, I think that pretty much covers the movie. Kind of dipped into more subject matter at the end of it, but overall, why don't you go ahead and give your closing thoughts on the movie?
I think everybody should go watch it at least once in the theaters. Go watch it. Um, it it'll give you a new perspective on um, yourself, the world. It'll renew, kind of shows you how evil the evil in the world can be.
Mm-hmm.
But that everyday people who can be far removed from it can actually do something about it.
Right.
Even if we're not out, even if we're not in the police force out there actually capturing them and all that kind of stuff. Because some people aren't. You have to be a certain kind of person to be able to go into that world
Mm-hmm.
and come out of it and
Yeah.
not be completely messed up.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend everybody to go watch it. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster.
That's for sure.
Um,
Yeah, it definitely has
I
ups and
can't.
downs.
Well,
What?
one thing I was gonna say real quick. I can't they've sat on this movie for 5 years.
Right.
You know who sat on it?
Yeah, it was Disney after the Fox merger
Yeah,
because Fox had it ready, like filmed.
and the Chew.
But yeah,
Bless
so Fox had it filmed, and then the Disney merger happened, and Disney decided not to release it. So why?
Well,
That
yeah,
makes no
why? But then
sense.
they also fought the release of the rights and tried
Mm-hmm.
to buy
Tried
the
to
rights
shelve it.
outright to
Right.
shelve it. Well, why?
I don't know.
It makes no sense.
I mean,
Especially if the movie is done. It's here's the DVD. Go sell it.
yeah.
Go release it. There's no good reason for it other than the fact, other than nefarious reasons. It's the only
Mm-hmm.
reason I can think of.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't want this movie out there.
Yeah. It's blows my mind. Like when I heard that it had 5 years ago, I'm like, what? 5 years ago? So we've been
Yeah,
sitting on a shelf for 5 years?
5 years. Yep.
That's crazy. And then all the other stuff, like them trying to prevent the release. And what I've noticed is, I guess because it was like the number one movie for a minute
Uh-huh.
or a couple of days or something. It might still be. I'm not sure. They started putting in a lot more theaters and putting
Yeah,
in a lot more
and
showtimes out.
that's great. So
Yeah.
definitely gives more people an opportunity to go see it, which is great because it is a movie that needs to get out there so that change can occur. So the more
Yep.
people aware of what's going on, the more likely things are to actually change. So
Yeah. Whew. All right. Well,
yeah, so I think that pretty much covers
that'll wrap it
all of
up, I
it.
guess.
Yep. So if you guys made it this far into the review, why don't you guys go ahead and hit that like button? If you feel like it, there's also a subscribe button you could hit, and leave comments down below on if you saw the movie, what you thought of it, or if you have anything else that we need to talk about and review.
Yep. And check us out on Twitter for upcoming reviews and other stuff we might be doing. And with that, we will see you guys next time.